Coming to you from the Ultra Staff Studios in Chicago, welcome to the Staffing Buzz Network with your host, Bob Petke. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Staffing Buzz Network. I am Bob Petke, and we are glad that you are either watching or listening to us, maybe on your drive into work. And we're real excited to have our guest on today. We'll talk about in a minute, but really a different type of podcast for us. One of the things that we do is we're very involved with other groups as they relate to staffing, and we've had a really long, very tremendous partnership with the ISSA, the Illinois Search and Staffing Association. And in part of that, we go to their meetings and help facilitate and really, we come in as a partner with them. And so we've got a Midwest Staffing Owners and Executive Retreat coming up September 24th and 25th. It's at the Blue Chip Hotel and Casino in Michigan City, Indiana. And it's going to be a great 2 days of meetings. So we're excited to be a part of that as a partner with that group. And we're also excited because part of the keynote presentation is going to be our next guest that's coming up today that I'm going to introduce here. Her name is Gabrielle Bosche. And Gabrielle, she's pretty cool, right? She's an author. She's done TEDx speaking, so that's very cool. So as you get a chance, you can even, after this, follow her, Google her, and check out some of the things that she's done that's put out there. And her space that she operates on, and I think it's going to be really relevant for the audience that will be attending the Midwest Staffing Owners and Executive Conference, September 24 and 25. Because it's really dealing with making sure that, you've got a purpose, you have a purpose. And so she's one of the founders of a purpose company. She is a co-author of the Purpose Factor and keeping them together. That's just to name a few. She's got several other books that are out there. But with that said, Gabrielle, we're excited to have you on the Staffing Buzz Network. Welcome.
What's up, Bob? Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are so glad you're here. And again, like I'd mentioned just a minute ago, you're going to be featured as a speaker for our group. And really, let's get right down to it because, you've got your Purpose Factor book. This is your message. Talk to us a little bit about really kind of your mission or how you're going in and talking to folks about, being, I would guess that you're a purpose person. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's not exactly something that you go to college for, becoming an expert in purpose, but it's something that really found myself and my business partner, co-author, co-TEDx speaker, and husband, Brian Bosche, and we'll both be co-speaking actually, which is kind of fun. But yeah, purpose is one of those things that honestly I got really frustrated with whenever I was going through a season change, a career change, a life change. Everyone kept saying, go find your purpose. But purpose is one of those things that feels really good to give around advice, but is really hard to receive because my natural next question is, well, how? And so what we've been able to do is actually develop a science-backed model to be able to find your purpose. So that way you're able to experience fulfillment on demand, which for us is one of the most important things that you can do with your purpose is what you experience because of using your purpose. So the kind of backstory, long and short of it is Brian and I were really struggling to find out what was next for us. People kept saying, find your purpose. We tried to find out how. And so we spent about 6 years really trying to dig deep into what popular motivators say about purpose? What do religions say about purpose? What is kind of the method behind finding meaning and fulfillment? What do the Stoics say about purpose? And what we developed was this 4-step method that really brought in these fundamental universal truths to help people find their purpose. So that way, when you find out who you are and how we define purpose is the best of what you have to help other people, then you can truly experience the best of what life has for you.
Okay. So again, you kind of give us a little of the backstory. Great way to get into this, but let's go further back. Like, when did you you're doing the speaking, and some people, this is the biggest fear on earth that people have. Like, you put it up there and you list, you've seen it, I'm sure. You ask people, what are their most things that they're afraid of most. And they'll say, even before passing away, a lot of times that comes up. So, first and foremost, how do you determine that that's your purpose? And when did that become something you were comfortable with?
Yeah, I've long loved speaking. I'm kind of one of those people who absolutely love being able to share what I had inside of me. That doesn't mean I was very good at it. So growing up, I had a speech impediment. I had stage fright. I really didn't like being in front of other people. But something really powerful happens. This is such a beautiful question, Bob. Something really powerful happens when you stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on other people. And that's what clarity of purpose, I think, really does, because of course there's, stage fright and frustration, fear of rejection, fear of, forgetting what you're going to say next. All of those things that happen, whether you're a speaker or, you're working with a fellow employee, or whether you're hiring people, or whether you're in a completely different industry, you're always going to have that fear. And so what I love to do is help people fall in love with the result. Fall in love with the people that you're helping. Because if you know that it's worth it, if you know the people you're helping, that they're worth kind of the discomfort or the change, or sometimes even the fear, which is a very real part of all of our lives. If you know that it's worth it, then you're willing to do it. So I was lucky to fall into this kind of early on. I've been speaking for probably about 15 years or so. And so loving what I get to do now, but it does not mean that it came quickly or easily.
Right. Well, I would imagine that, being that this is your purpose, and again, I don't know exactly how that relates to your message. I'm going to find out because I will be at this meeting. So we're excited to have people learn that. But just maybe give a little bit of a story on that, or if you can fill us in. One of the things I saw was that you're also an author, so you've written books. So, and I understand you wrote books really early on. Talk about that and how that maybe interacted with your purpose as well.
Yeah, it's really a powerful thing being able to have a platform. And again, being an author and speaking, that's not necessarily my purpose. That's the platform that I use to help people with my purpose. And so my purpose is really to help people identify the best of what they have and be able to translate it into something that adds value in the marketplace. And so one of my core missions is to be able to help 1 billion people find and live out their purpose. And it's just such a fun thing. But when I was first starting off as an author, I started my journey of I've written 7 books. I wrote my first book because someone gave me the advice. They said, a book is the best business card you can ever give somebody. And I was a weirdo in high school who actually had business cards. So that probably says a little bit more about my personality than anything else. But what I realized is it was such a great package to be able to distribute my message to multiple people. So getting into that world of being able to write books, and, our most recent book, The Purpose Factor, kind of helped line out a lot of the core elements that we're going to be speaking about at the conference. But being able to really get a clear delineation between, knowing that you have a purpose and being able to find out what that is, that's really the sweet spot of what we want to help people with. And more than that, not just knowing that you have a purpose, but what can you actually do with it? How do you apply it at work? Like, truthfully, Bob, I have people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, I'd love to bring you into my company and help my people find their purpose. But then what happens? Are they then going to quit? Are they going to start their own company? Are they going to realize their purpose isn't working for me? And I always assure them the truth is that purpose is vocation agnostic. You're not more in your purpose if you're working in a particular job or not. Because what happens if that job goes away, your purpose isn't a particular vocation? Or I see a lot of this because we work with a lot of former professional athletes where they thought their purpose was playing in a particular sport and then they get injured. Does that mean they no longer have a purpose? Of course not. So really the magic behind what I'm so excited about coming to the conference and getting to speak really at length with people about is how do we help people find out what's the best of what they have and apply it to what they're doing right now. Like, it's not one of those eat, pray, love, take 6 months off, go sit and meditate on a pillow kind of experiences. It's how do we really practically find out what do I have to give? How can I add value? And then how can I truly experience fulfillment? Because I know at the end of every single day, what I'm doing is making a difference.
Right. So, one of the things that I wondered, and again, looking at some information on you, because I want to do my research before I bring you on board, and it's been great. And I know we talked beforehand, but talk to us about, where does purpose start and how does it intercede or interact with passion?
Mm-hmm. Passion's one of those things that we also got really frustrated with because people kept saying, follow your passion and find your passion. And truthfully, I had either all of the passion or none of it, depending on what season I was in. Either I was passionate about, in grad school, I wanted to start a coffee cart business. I was really passionate about coffee. And then, in high school, I was really passionate about sports. I'm a competitive tennis player. And so I was like, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. And so the interesting thing is when you look at the dictionary definition of passion is actually defined by Oxford as a barely controllable emotion, So when you take that definition and then kind of operationalize it and realize that we've been giving people this advice to find your passion by simply saying, go follow your barely controllable emotion. Of course, we're getting so frustrated. Of course, we have high turnover in companies that are passion first. Of course, we lack direction when we're trying to figure out what's next for us. And so passion is one of those things that, yes, it should be there because passion is really the emotions behind it. Passion is the excitement around that. That absolutely needs to exist. So we always say it's not passion alone. It's not passion first, but passion definitely can be a part of that mixture of helping people really kind of fall in love with what they do again. And I'm sure that you're seeing it too. I mean, I think a lot of people can feel kind of frustrated. People can feel a little dull, like that excitement, that spark, that newness that they once had in the workforce. They're like, what happened? I used to love what I was doing, or I used to get so excited because I was solving new problems every day. And now I'm kind of just solving the same problem over and over again. And so really being able to tap into that purpose piece. Passion is about excitement. Purpose is about problem solving. Okay. And so when you start to tap into that differentiation, what we've just seen in the companies that we've worked with, it's really a big game changer for people to realize, oh, I didn't realize that I was actually tapping into my purpose all along.
Do you ever find when you're working through this that maybe somebody's purpose doesn't necessarily align with their personality?
Yeah, I think when it comes to purpose in particular, because again, it's the best of what you have to help others. The personality piece is the short answer is no. Personality and purpose are not necessarily two separate things. Personality, a lot of times, is how you show up. It's how you see yourself. It's how you're perceived by other people. Purpose is the best of what you have, but to help other people. And so how that actually manifests is actually what I think is most interesting, is because personality oftentimes is what we have kind of grown into over time. It's what we've seen as socially acceptable. It's the role that we've played in life or work. It's the role that we've tended to play in our families. And so when you tap into purpose is oftentimes kind of behind the scenes that's been there all along. And so what we've actually found is when people find their purpose, they're like, oh, that's the most authentic part of my personality all along. So they very, very rarely will, come at odds with each other. They're oftentimes people start to realize that's when my true authentic personality came out, was when I was actually living out my purpose.
No, that makes great sense, right? And, one of the things that, and maybe we'll talk about this, and again, I don't want to give away any spoilers, things that people will be like,
Spoiler alerts for everybody.
Spoiler alert. How do people know that their purpose is their purpose?
Yeah, the clarity piece, I think, is so important, because I think a lot of times people may start down a path and think, I thought this was my purpose, and then something happened. I thought my purpose was to go this particular industry, and then I got laid off. I thought my purpose was to start this kind of business, and then it didn't work out. And so we recognize that there's oftentimes some very real frustrations with the process of finding purpose. And so purpose is one of those things, because there's 4 core elements that, again, you can learn more about it in our book, The Purpose Factor. You can show up in the conference. We're going to go really deep in it. But when you start to realize that there's these 4 parts, that when you start to pull, this is a piece of advice I'd give to any of your listeners. If there's something complicated, pull it apart to find the component parts to understand it better. And so that's what we did with purpose, is we realized purpose wasn't just this thing. It actually had component parts. So when you start to pull it apart, you start to realize that probably in different seasons of your life, you were feeling more fulfilled because you were actually tapping into your purpose. So for example, one of the first core elements we talk about with purpose is your natural advantage. Natural advantage is kind of the thing that you naturally do. It's the natural brilliance that you have, and it's actually the thing that you oftentimes take most for granted. So tapping into your natural advantage, you can realize, oh my gosh, like we've done this with companies all the time where we'll help, say, their sales team find their natural advantage. And they realize every person on the sales team has a different natural advantage. Of course, they're selling differently. And so just giving people permission to recognize what makes us so different is actually a benefit and an asset rather than a liability, I think is a really cool place to start. But I think more than anything, and you're asking such awesome questions, Bob, like this is so fun. I think one of the most important things that we can do as employers is to give ourselves permission to help our people find their purpose. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, you have to find your purpose outside of what you do for work. Purpose is what you do with your family. Purpose is what you do. Maybe if you have a faith or a spirituality, maybe that's what you do outside of work. But what we want to really do is help lead a movement of employers saying we recognize that we have a duty to help people find meaning and fulfillment. I think post-COVID, people really started to see that. They really started to see, wow, we have a duty beyond just giving someone a paycheck. We actually are having a real impact. We can save lives as employers. And that's what we're really most excited about, is being able to work with companies who are in the people business, being able to help people realize that there really is so much meaning behind our work.
Right. And you talk about the people business, and there's really nothing more that I can think of. But again, my background falls in staffing. Truly just a people person business, right? We work with people to find them jobs, right? With a potential new client or with a new client. Then we work with other people to find them, a spot to go to. Then they have to go in and interact with other folks as well. So, the people that are going to be in attendance, this message is going to really resonate and hit home. But with that said, somebody finds their purpose, right? And, it becomes part of their MO, their modus operandi of how they go to work each and every day, or how they just go to life each and every day. Let me just go ahead and take a step back and put it that way. Let's talk about when somebody's finding their purpose, because otherwise sometimes people are either, they've got a purpose or they're going through the motions. That's my take on it. And you might have something to add or share on that. But when somebody finds their purpose, like, what are some of the byproducts of that? What is the purpose? What does the person experience when they find themselves in that zone where they're not only found their purpose, but they're working towards fulfilling the purpose?
Yeah, I think when you're in your purpose zone, it's really nice to be able to identify what's happening. And there's really three core things that are happening. The first is there's energy. You kind of notice that where there's some projects, some people, some instances that you just feel energized around. And then there's some that really drain your energy. And that's because at a really subconscious level, our body and our brains are actually having to work harder to find meaning and answer the question, is what I'm doing worth it? So the energy piece, I think, of it is really, really important. The second is the joy piece. There's just an enjoyment around what you're doing, where even if whatever you're working on is hard, it's kind of fun. Like, one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what's been your most fulfilled day at work? And I'll take that moment and I will pull it apart to see, who are they helping? What were they doing? And what problem were they solving? If I can find those three things, then I can then help that person find fulfillment on demand. And it's always, what problem were they solving? Because their most fulfilled day at work wasn't usually the easy day. It wasn't the day when they were just sitting back. It wasn't the company holiday party. It really was a day where they're like, I don't know if this is going to work. This is hard. This is frustrating, but they ended up triumphant at the end. That's usually the fun part. People, like, we're kind of created to create. We like problem solving as humans. That's just kind of how we're hardwired. So the joy piece of it, I think, is really important. And then the third is kind of this virality. Like, there's something about when you're in your purpose, you want to share it with other people. It's like when you have your favorite restaurant or your favorite, new thing that you just bought, or your favorite new movie that you're watching. There's something about us as communal creatures that we like to share that. So I usually like to find the evidence of things for people, because oftentimes, again, people don't necessarily talk a lot about purpose. We talk a lot about why, which I think is really important. I think the Start With Why movement was really, really important to start to create a conversation. But why actually is just the first part of it. Why is really a question around motivation. Sure. But purpose is a question around meaning. And so it's really not either or, it's both and, that I think is really important to bring to the conversation today.
Right. No, I'm familiar with Simon Sinek as well, right? I think everybody who's at, either watched a video or read a book, that, he comes up. So I get that as well. But one of the things that I might wonder is, how do I know that? How do I know maybe I don't have? How do I know I don't have a purpose? Like, what are some of the things? What are some of the characteristics of somebody who's maybe doesn't know, and they I don't know if I don't want to lead the witness, but are they feeling lost? What are some of the things that somebody might experience where they're like, I need to get this going?
Yeah, and it's not that they don't have a purpose, it's just that they don't know what it is,
Okay.
right? So usually if someone is in a place where on the employment side, there's disengagement, there's a lack of clarity and focus, there's oftentimes kind of a lack of taking initiative. Those are usually some kind of early signs that you're not in line with your purpose, that there's some veering going on. Clarity is oftentimes one of those things that I will look at to say, how aligned with our purpose are we? Because you want clarity on who you are, clarity on where you're going, and clarity on how you're going to get there. Those three things are going to really put the path forward for you or for anyone to be able to know, yes, I'm being able to kind of turn that purpose switch on so I can tap into it. Because the cool thing about purpose is really like motivation on demand. Like we talk a lot about motivation. Are employees motivated? Are we motivated? And it could be everything from did we hit our numbers to are we losing weight? Motivation is really important. But I actually don't think motivation is the thing we need to be measuring. We actually need to be looking at conviction. So conviction is that core belief that what you're doing is worth it. And so if we can help our employees identify clearly and specifically that what they're doing is worth it, then they'll show up early, they'll stay late, they'll do the work, they'll push through, they'll have fun. Because if it's on the other side, if it's worth it, then they'll do it. And so that's a really important element of being able to say, how are we doing as a company to make sure that our people are on track with their purpose? Is can they clearly articulate back to you that what they're doing is worth it? And it could be as easy as just in your next one-on-one, just saying, hey, what are you working on? What's really hard? Why is it worth it? And it could be, their answer could be because it's part of my job, because I'm learning a lot, because I know the team, it's important to the team. All of those things are really important.
Okay. As we get ready for this conference that's coming up on September 24th and 25th, the group is going to be the Midwest owners, and it's a Midwest owners and executive conference, right? So these attendees are likely entrepreneurs. They've started their business and they've built it from the ground up, and others are probably executives that are trying to either work for a purpose or identify the purpose, because like you said, everybody has a purpose. It's a matter of identifying it. But as we look to this particular group that's coming in, and again, I think the message covers everybody and anybody, but what are some of the things that they should expect as they participate and hear your message? What should they expect as part of this?
Yeah, the big thing is just to have fun. For us, is we really like to create an experience of learning. A lot of times we can go to conferences and events, and I know I'm a conference junkie myself, and you can go there and it can feel like a lecture. We don't want it to feel like a lecture. We want it to be an experience. So that's the big one. We also too see speaking as consulting standing up. So it's as if you're bringing us in, our firm, the Purpose Company, in to come in and consult you on how to, whether you've got retention issues, engagement issues, you're looking at how do you reinvigorate your team? How do you personalize the mission? That's something we're going to be focusing quite a lot on, because a lot of times as companies, we have mission statements, we have core values, all of those are important, but until we personalize it to every person on your team, it's kind of a waste of time and money. So we like to come in and really help people in real time. So we'll have a keynote, and then we'll have a workshop afterwards as well, which is incredible. I mean, most companies who'd be bringing us in would be spending a significant amount of money to have this kind of experience. So you would be crazy to not come if you can't come. I always encourage people, I'm like, come, show up. And also too, something powerful happens in the room. Something powerful happens when you're learning in community, when you're solving problems in real time, when you're able to ask questions of experts who's been doing it. I mean, we've developed purpose discovery systems from everyone from the U.S. military to major Fortune 50 companies. We've worked with celebrities and just a lot of really amazing leaders. So we're honestly just so excited and honored to be able to come and be able to translate this for the staffing industry, because I believe that what you guys are doing, you're really on the forefront of being able to help
Yes.
people find meaning in their work. That's what you do for a living. So for us to be able to serve you in this way, truly for us is an incredible honor.
No, and you talked about, being in attendance, right? And I believe, when two or more gather together, in this particular case, learning and experiencing, a message that's going to help them, guide them to a certain place and space where they can fulfill and their purpose from that point forward. There's power in that,
Yes.
right? And I'll tell you something about staffing, and you may or may not know this, but just as you come to this group, if staffing were easy, anybody can do it. Like your role right now, nobody goes and studies staffing in college. When they were little kids, they didn't play staffing. I mean, you might have played public speaker, motivator, aficionado. I don't know. That would have been a cute little thing to see. But nevertheless, so they fall into this role, and it takes a very unique person to do that, just like it takes a unique person to do what you do. I mean, let's face it, there's some roles in this world that a lot of people can do, and it might not require much, and that's okay. They've got to find their own purpose in their own way. And we need all walks of life to do all walks of things. But I think that this message is going to be very powerful for this group in particular, because they are a very unique group. I think that they're hungry to be able to understand what their purpose is, because let's face it, what we're doing is we're really helping other people find jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a satisfaction that comes from that. So, my thoughts are that this is going to be very powerful for them to, discover, or, it could be rediscover their purpose and have the potential to talk with you, obviously maybe afterwards. Are you going to have some time to be able to speak with some people there for at
Absolutely.
all,
Yeah, we're there for the day. So for us, if we can, have one-off conversations, talk to you about maybe getting clarity on your own purpose or helping translate this to bring this back to your team. For us, that's the most fulfilling moment, is when people are like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk to my partner about this. I can't wait to talk to my kids. I can't wait to talk to my team. The transferability of a message for us is one of the greatest compliments.
And will you have your book available there for them as well, hopefully?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. That's a great question, Bob.
Okay.
Maybe we will. I don't know. Maybe I can bring some.
If not, we know how to get them, right? You can find they're all
right.
on Amazon. We can search on your name and do that. But I think that what's also nice about your message, and it's not just a one and done experience, right? You bring a level of expertise and experience and value to your message. And I think the fact that for those that choose to, after they hear their message, many of them will be inspired to want to work with you additionally to help their teams, because, it's not getting any easier. And, if people are going through the motions and they don't have that purpose, they're not going to be able to maximize their potential. When you're an owner and you've got to work with your team, if you can have everyone find their own purpose, and everyone's purpose is a little bit different or significantly different. I don't want to put anybody in a box. But I think that when you're in a place and space where you have that, you're going to optimize, the spirit of who you are, and the ability to just perform at an optimum level.
That's exactly right. It's once you unlock it, it's one of those things. The first line in our book, The Purpose Factor, is you cannot unknow what you're about to discover. And it's a big promise, and we deliver on it. Once you know your purpose, you can't unknow it. It's pretty powerful.
Well, perfect. Well, Gabrielle, thanks for being here. We are so excited to spend some time with you. I don't know if you've ever been to the Blue Chip Hotel and Casino in Michigan City, Indiana, but if you haven't, it'll be a nice, fun experience for you. You're going to love our people, very just salt of the earth kind of people that are going to be excited to hear your message. And we'll see you. We'll be there on the 24th and the 25th. So, any parting words with us before you go? Anything, any kind of a more shout out why people might want to make sure they attend and hear you guys?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, hang out with Bob and myself. Come on. I think that's worth the trip for sure. But I just want to encourage folks that these types of events, really, just by showing up, like I said, being in the room, learning in concert, really amazing things happen. And just by stepping away, changing your environment will really change the mental environment that you're in. So whatever problem you're wanting to solve, just by coming to an event like this, you're going to get collaboration opportunities, new ideations, you'll be solving problems in real time in an accelerated time. So I know sometimes as an owner and operator, as a CEO myself, it's hard to justify leaving to go do something when you feel like you have so many other things to do.
Sure it does, yeah.
But you will have an acceleration of the problem solving just by being in the room with these other owners. So I would encourage you to show up, hang out, ask lots of questions. We're so excited to come.
I'm sure after a session with the Bosches, I know that you are going to leave them better than you found them for sure. So again, thank you for being here. We're excited to see you. I'm excited to spend some time with you both as well. And we'll see you here in just a little or less than a month. So
Yeah.
Gabrielle, thanks for being here today, and we're excited to have you.
Honored to be here, my friend.
Right, thanks. So there you have it. Gabrielle Bosche is going to be with us. And again, just a really tremendous opportunity for the attendees at the Midwest Executive Owners Conference coming up September 24th and 25th. I think I've said that at least 6, 7 times. And if you haven't registered already, you can go ahead and you could contact the ISSA, or you can go ahead and do a search on the Midwest Staffing Conference. You'll be able to find that just by going through the search engine and get there. There's going to be a lot of other added value to that. I think, it's going to be the cherry on top is going to be listening to the Bosches and their message for sure. So with that said, my name is Bob Petkin again here at ABD, Automated Business Designs. Our software is Ultra Staff Edge. We've got a very cool service or solution for your staffing needs. And if you'd like to learn more about that, you can always reach me. My contact information is on our outro. Also, stop by and let's have a chat at the conference as well. So with that, until next time, we look forward to seeing you here on the Staffing Buzz Network. Thanks.